What is up, everybody? I'm George Mossey. So, 90 Day The Single Life Season 3, Episode 10 has aired, and I want to check in with Tania. And she has had her first successful date with a woman. Now, she met a woman named Rebecca. She met her on a dating app. They are in Aruba together, both on vacation. They spend some time together. They actually hit it off. The only issue is Rebecca is leaving the island within a couple of days. They can't continue that romance or relationship or new spark there in Aruba. So unfortunately, that didn't go anywhere. But the most important thing is that Tania has opened this space. She is now ready to date women. She no longer has to be worried or nervous or scared or have any type of fear for going out and doing this. But one thing that we did notice was she is mentally divorced from Sinjin, but she has no interest in doing the paperwork. And her sister Drea and her friend are both confused by that because they feel you have ended the relationship and the marriage and you see no chance of you ever getting back together. You wouldn't want to enter into a new relationship carrying that baggage with you because you're kind of bringing that person into your new situation and your new space. So Tania deeply thinks about these words and she feels that maybe she really hasn't healed and she hasn't allowed herself to process the separation from her husband, because we know from watching it happen right in front of our eyes, Tania was extremely hurt. The situation of Sinjin leaving and watching him get in the car and actually drive away was one of the more harder scenes to watch. Watching that relationship kind of deteriorate between our eyes and the connection that they had. And Tania said in this episode, she never questioned whether or not her husband loved her. She knew that there was a love and there was a connection and there was a relationship there. It was the other problems were a demise of that marriage. So Tania put together a women's circle where she worked to release the negative energy around that separation, and she was able to process and open herself up to new opportunities, which I think is so important. When you haven't let go of something in the past, you are actually closing yourself off from having new opportunities, new love, a new person in your life, and even taking steps to improving your life. You're actually not allowing that to take place. So we are watching Tania as she opens up this new life, this new chapter, and new opportunities for love. And we are hoping, fingers crossed, this season you might find him or her in this journey that you have just begun. All right, guys, so let's move things over and talk about Veronica. So, after a failed dating attempt with Justin, and we know this was an epic fail, Justin didn't even mention to Veronica it was always a possibility that he would be moving to Florida. He never mentioned that. He actually strung her along. They slept together all before he decided to say, by the way, I'm moving pretty far away. And if you want to continue this relationship, you would need to pack up your life and follow me. After that situation, Veronica finds herself alone, and not just alone because of what happened with Justin, but Tim is MIA. Tim actually took I need space literal, and he stopped communication with Veronica. And we've always known Tim and Veronica to be together. I don't know any other way to describe Tim or Veronica without each other. Well, they are friendship goals. Like, if you ever post a friendship goals post, it's usually a picture of Tim and Veronica, because they've not only been in a relationship together and that didn't work out, but they have been able to maintain a friendship, a very close friendship at that, while also dating other people. So there are other people in this situation and it still seemed to work out. But Tim did say that there was some positive attributes of space between he and Veronica. But at the same time, Veronica feels that their friendship should be something that they always have. They've even made a marriage pact where if they're not married by a certain age, they will marry each other. Now, I do know some people in school that have those, and I remember making one with someone in high school. They never panned out. We never ended up together. We didn't even remain close friends after high school. So that marriage pact is clearly out the window. So I'm really hoping that Tim and Veronica are able to get their friendship back to where it used to be, because Veronica said at this point she doesn't really know if it's going to be possible for them to get back to that close friendship that it was before all this additional and access space was put into this friendship by Tim. But again, Tim feels this is exactly what Veronica asked for. And then when he gave it to her, she didn't really want it. And I think a lot of times in relationships and in friendships, we think we want something. And then when we get it and we actually have to live with what we asked for, we realize that that is not even what we wanted. I want to check in with Tiffany because there's been a pretty big situation that has come about. So Ronald messages Tiffany and says that he really misses his kids, especially his daughter Carly, and he wants her to bring them to him because there's absolutely no way that he could come to them because he is unable to get to the United States. And this really hits a soft spot in Tiffany's heart because they've definitely had their ups and downs, but when she puts herself in Ronald's shoes and she realizes what it would be like for her if she was unable to be in her daughter Carly's life, she realizes how that can really take an emotional toll on someone. Now, she does know that Ronald and her relationship was definitely something that did not work the way that it was presented then, but she does know that Ronald has been taking strides to improve himself and he has admitted to his faults and wrongs and even apologized to her. But again, words are only words, and we can never really know if someone has truly changed unless you give them an opportunity. Now, is Tiffany willing to go down to South Africa and give Ronald the opportunity to explain himself, to reopen those feelings, and maybe test out a relationship? Now, that is what we're wondering because Tiffany's mom definitely wants that to not happen. She feels that this is an emotional waste of time. And it's also something that she doesn't want Tiffany to do because she's afraid that Tiffany could fall back into bad habits. And when you're married to someone and you're accustomed to their bad habits and you're accustomed to the relationship the way it was, sometimes it's easier than going out and starting something completely new. And this kind of leaves Dan in a bad situation because he was enjoying the time that they had together and they clearly had a connection. But now that Tiffany has purchased open-ended tickets to go to South Africa, there's not really a place for a future for Dan and Tiffany right now. Whether or not Tiffany comes back to Maryland and there is an opportunity for them to rekindle things, Dan has definitely left it open. He even said that he's leaving the ball in her court. If she wants to come back and start something back up with him, he is open to that. But he is also open to the idea of her doing this for her daughter and making this stride and doing this trip, which I think shows that he has a good heart. He's a good guy, and unfortunately, good guys tend to finish last. Women tend to gravitate towards the guys who aren't necessarily as good, and I really wish that wasn't the case. But we've learned time and time again that is exactly how things go. So Tiffany is saying goodbye to Daniel. She's hopping on the plane with Carly, and she's going on this journey to see Ronald for the first time in over a year. And they're going to sit down and have a conversation about all the things that transpired, their relationship, where they are now, and where they're going to go from here. And now this is where everyone is getting nervous because a lot of people are very happy with the idea of Tiffany moving away from Ronald because of that relationship. But again, we only saw bits and pieces of their relationship on the show. We don't know exactly how they always were together because cameras were not always on. But we do know that Tiffany and her support system are definitely going to be there regardless of how this goes. So good luck to Tiffany and Ronald. It would be mind-blowing to see them rekindle their marriage and relationship. So many people assume that it was over completely. So even the idea of it being able to be rekindled is kind of mind-blowing in itself. So speaking of mind-blowing, Natalie has arrived in Washington and she and Mike are having a conversation about the things that transpired when she abruptly left, flew to Florida and started dating other people. And Mike has finally gotten a chance to express to her how much he was hurt when that took place and how she left him there with no explanation, no phone call, not even to reach out to see if he was okay. So now that she has arrived back in Washington, she's actually trying to rekindle things, which is very interesting because as you guys know, Natalie is still dating Josh at this moment. So the idea that she is trying to make things work with Mike is a bit crazy because Mike definitely is someone that she found so much fault in. When they were together, there were always issues, they were always fighting. There were very, very few and rare moments of them actually getting along and being happy. So the idea that Natalie is ready to rekindle things is really making everyone wonder, What is Natalie's intention? She couldn't make it work with Josh, and she's been dating around, and the relationships that she did try to start have not gone the way that she planned. What are the intentions that she is coming back to Mike after all this time to try and fix things when she was so sure things could not be fixed? I guess we're going to have to keep watching to see, and we know Trish has her eye on this situation. She is definitely not going to let Natalie weasel her way back into Mike's life without a fight. Trish, who has moved in with Mike, is definitely going to make sure that Natalie is there to get her clothes and her documents and absolutely nothing else. All right, guys, I'm George Mossey. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at George Mossey and at georgemossey.com for all your 90 Day Fiancé news and updates.